Chapter 23, The Black Baron. Disclaimer: most werewolves are kind and decent members of society. In rare cases there is a rogue that causes trouble. When that happens, there's Mr. Black, the Black Baron. The sun was starting to set as Harry arrived. Looking around, he realized that he was in some sort of clearing in a dark forbidding forest, and he immediately pulled out his guidebook to get an idea of what he should expect. Transylvania is a wonderful country with a rich history. Transylvania is also filled with a large assortment of mystical creatures that regard humans as a good source of protein. What follows is a partial list of dangerous creatures and how to kill them. Editor's note: most things will die if you chop off their head. When in doubt, try that. Vampires. Weaknesses include sunlight, wooden stakes to the heart. Harry spent several minutes going over the list and only finished when he no longer had any light to read by. Remembering the shopkeeper's warning, Harry secured the sword to his hip and went digging through his pack for his whip and Pugio. Let's see if I can get this thing to work, Harry muttered as he uncoiled the whip, hopefully without injuring myself too badly. Mental note: get some healing potions. Giving the whip a few experimental cracks, Harry was pleased to learn that the whip seemed to move according to his will. Sending the tip over his shoulder, Harry frowned as the whip seemed to get caught on a branch or something. Giving it one good tug, he managed to get it free and returned it to his belt. Practice, he muttered to himself. I need more practice. Shaking his head, Harry began walking towards the distant lights that he hoped indicated some sort of town or inn. Behind him, two vampires were frozen in shock. Only seconds ago, they had watched as the stranger's whip wrapped around their leader's neck and decapitated what they had thought was an extraordinary powerful vampire. Back up, whispered one. Not even then, replied the other. Let someone else have this one. I think you're right. The first was still staring at the spot the stranger had been standing on. He didn't even bother to look back. He just killed. Not many people can do something like that. I never liked Vlad anyway. The second shrugged. What kind of vampire picks such a stereotypical name? And it's not like the stranger was after us. The second agreed. He let us go. Most humans with that kind of skill would have killed the both of us for even thinking about jumping him. Should we warn Vorlorse, let him die? The vampire laughed. Never liked him either. After a few minutes of walking, Harry came to the door of what looked like an inn. Shifting his clothing from backpacker to something a bit less noticeable, Harry entered the building. Every eye turned to watch Harry as he entered the room. Is there a place I can get a room around here? Harry asked the bartender with a smile. Upstairs, the woman nodded. If you want a room with a lock and a sturdy door, that's extra. If you want a room with a lock on the outside the door, that's extra. If you want clean sheets, that's extra. Harry nodded. One with a lock on the inside and a sturdy door. Fine, the woman nodded. Would you like something to eat? What do you have? We have soup and lamb. The woman looked up. If you want blood, then I suggest you ask Vorlorse to share his with you. He doesn't like it if I give out his private stock without his permission. Lamb and soup will be fine. Harry nodded as he dropped a few silver coins on the bar. I'll eat it down here. Sit wherever you like. The woman turned her back. I'll have your food out in a bit, thank you. Harry took a seat that allowed him to keep his back to the wall and a view of the door. His quiet vacation was getting to be more exciting than he could stand. Here, the woman dropped a large tray on Harry's table. I included a beer. Don't ever let it be said that I didn't give a man a good meal when the time came. When the time came, Harry looked up from his book with a raised eyebrow. Vorlorse heard you were in town, the woman replied in a flat tone. And since I doubt that you have a way out of here, I'm sorry, but it's better he take you than someone we know. I didn't tell him and I don't know who did, but I'm sorry. Don't worry about it. Harry sighed and carefully closed his book. All I wanted was a quiet vacation, and for some reason I never get a moment's peace. Send him over when he comes in. You don't have to worry about that. The woman gave a cynical smile. I may not like it, but there is no way I would go against Vorlorse and his gang. Harry carefully propped his book up and continued reading while he ate. Good meal, Harry complimented to the bartender as she cleared his plates. Could I get another beer, miss? You can have another beer. The woman nodded. And at no charge. As for the name, it's easier if I don't get too close to you. I'm sorry. Try to see it from my side. I'm sorry. Think nothing of it. Harry shrugged. We can talk more about it later. When do you think Vorlorse will be arriving? Shouldn't be long. The woman glanced at the door nervously. I doubt that you'll even have a chance to finish your beer. Then you had better hurry and bring it to me. Harry smiled. Wouldn't want to miss drinking any more of it then I had to. The woman returned with Harry's beer and Harry returned to his book. Harry was halfway through his beer when the room became still. Looking up, Harry saw 3 pale men standing in the door. After pausing for a moment to speak with the bartender, the 3 men headed straight to Harry's table. You must be Vorlous. Harry forced himself not to show any of the nervousness that he was feeling. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. You're in my town. Vorlous gave a cruel smile. That means that you have to pay a tax, and there's only one thing you have that I want. I've been doing a bit of reading while I waited for you. Harry ignored the vampire's speech and smiled. I read that vampires were vulnerable to sunlight. Seems that there is something about the sun's rays that causes them to burn up. Is that true, or was my book mistaken? It's true. Vorlous was confused. They were usually begging for their life at this point. Pity that you don't have any sunlight with you, isn't it? Harry smiled and hit all 3 vampires with a tanning charm. Then I guess that this will have to do. The vampires screamed as their flesh began to burn. Vorlous made a mad lunge across Harry's table and was able to make it half across before collapsing in agony. Harry's face showed no signs of the horror he was feeling as he examined the 3 writhing vampires. I expected it to do more than that. Oh well, looks like I'll have to finish this the old-fashioned way. And as the book said, few things can survive without their heads. The bar patrons watched in shock as the stranger drew a curved sword and decapitated the 3 vampires. Could I have the key to my room now? Harry asked calmly as he sheathed his sword. It's been a long day and I'd really like to get some rest. No key? The dumbfounded woman could only stare at the remains of the 3 vampires that had previously claimed ownership of the town. There's a bar you can put across the door, first one on the left, thank you. Harry suppressed another shudder as he walked up the stairs. Seeing the 3 vampires burn had brought up unpleasant memories of his first year and the fate of his defense against the dark arts professor. And sorry about the mess. Did you see that one of the men at the bar spoke after Harry had left? Did you see what he did to them? I saw. The woman nodded. Just think of what he could do to you if he decides to be insulted by the fact that you told Vorlous about him. It was him or one of us, the man protested. Vorlous wasn't going to live forever on the donations we provided him. Sooner or later he was going to take another one of us. Just hope that he feels the same way. The bartender nodded towards the stairs. Because I don't like thinking about what will happen if he doesn't. Did anyone else feel it when he pulled out that sword? An older man that had been sitting near Harry's table asked with a look of fear. The coldness, the feeling of dread. What is he? Another man asked with a frown. I doubt that he's a vampire because we all saw him eat, but he can't be human, can he? Not after the way he killed Vorlous, treated a 200-year-old vampire like he is a child. It seems that there's a new hunter in the area. So what happened? Demanded a figure cloaked in shadow. Vlad is dead, so is Vorlous and his men, the flunky replied calmly. Explain to me why I should care about the fates of a few parasites, the dark figure questioned, ones that I myself have been meaning to destroy. Vlad's men say that he killed Vlad the same way a normal human would swat a bug, the flunky smiled, and a terrified townsman tells me that it took the hunter less than 3 seconds to kill Vorlous and his group. I see, the shadowed figure nodded. You were right to bring this to my attention. We're sure that he wasn't brought in by the townsfolk. My source is terrified because he's the one that informed Vorlous about the stranger's presence, the flunky smiled, and I see it as a good sign that he allowed Vlad's men to live. So do I, the shadowed figure nodded. It looks as if he's not here to cause trouble. Find out his name, and send him an invitation to dine with me, at once. So I meant it when I said invitation, Ergor, the shadowed figure continued. I don't want to antagonize an unknown power by being impolite. As you say, sir, Ergor nodded. I'll tell the men not to anger him or be impolite. A meeting between equals, the darkened figure nodded. It's been so long since I've been able to have one of those. Harry awoke late the next morning and walked down to the bar. Good morning, sir. The bartender greeted him upon his appearance. Did you have a good sleep? Yes, I did, thank you. Harry gave a tired blink. Is it too early for breakfast? What would you like, sir? The woman smiled nervously. We have soup, or if you'd like something else I can get it. Soup is fine. Harry nodded. Thank you. We all wanted you to know how sorry we are about what happened with Vorlous. The woman eyed the sword on Harry's hip. And I wanted you to know that the man who did it has left town. Don't worry about it. Harry grinned. Why don't we both forget that last night happened? If that's your wish, sir. The bartender agreed. Who am I to think otherwise? Thank you. Harry gave a short laugh. Now about that soup right away, so Harry leaned back in his chair and smiled. The people were so friendly around here that he might be persuaded to stay longer than he had intended. And that thing with the vampires last night, he was sure that it was just an isolated incident, not something likely to happen again. Will there be anything else? So the woman smiled nervously as she delivered the food. Some fresh bread perhaps. I'm fine, thank you. Harry smiled. Is there anything to do in this town? Nothing much, sir. The woman's hands were trembling. It's fairly isolated. I'm sure I'll find something. Harry grinned. Thank you. Yes, sir. The woman backed up a few steps and then rushed into the back room. Must have a lot to do this morning. Harry shrugged at his hostess's exit. Harry finished his soup and decided to explore the town. It quickly became obvious that there wasn't much to see. The town held a blacksmith shop, an inn, a general store, and another unmarked shop. Shrugging, Harry walked into the general store. If all else failed, he could always get some souvenirs for his friends. Hello, Harry called out as he entered the store. Is anyone here? I am right here. An old woman's head popped out from behind the counter. Just one moment, I'm just going to take a look around, Harry replied. I'll be at the counter in a few minutes. Take your time. Harry spent several minutes walking around the store. Why do you have so much black silk? Vlad liked it, the old woman replied. He liked the whole Prince of the Night look. I thought they said his name was Vorlos. He wasn't so into continuing stereotypes as Vlad was. The old woman shook her head. He may have been a monster, but I don't know what I'm going to do with all that silk now that Vlad's gone. I'll take it, Harry sighed. I'm sure I know someone that can use it. Bless you. The old woman gave a toothless smile. You've saved my store. Always happy to help. Harry gave a wee grin. I'll take some of those hard candies behind the counter also. Here you go, Sonny. The old woman pulled out a handful. On the house, Harry paid for his purchases and walked to the next store. Hello, son. What can I do for you? I was just looking around, Harry replied. Is it possible to get a portkey here? Why do you ask? The shopkeeper asked wearily. This shop sells other magical items. Harry shrugged. I was hoping that you would have portkeys too, or at least know where I can get them. I'm afraid that I don't have those. The old man shook his head sadly. I do have some other things that you might be interested in though. What? Harry sighed. Let me show you. The old man pulled a small trunk out from under the counter. A complete hunter's kit. Never been used. What's a complete hunter's kit? Harry's eyebrows were touching. Everything a hunter of the supernatural could possibly need when traveling through the area. The old man smiled. Silver weapons, wooden stakes, a portable potions library, lockpicks, and many more things. It also comes with a comprehensive research library. Fine, Harry nodded. And since you've decided to buy the complete hunter's kit, the old man smiled. Allow me to suggest a few more items that you'll need if you're traveling through the area. I thought you said the hunter's kit had everything I would need. Harry smirked. That's what the advertisement says, the old man agreed. But you don't seem like the kind of man that would trust your life to a bunch of marketers. Okay, what else? Harry sighed again. Some more books. The old man piled the tomes on top of the trunk, and a lot more potions ingredients, including several that are only found in this area. The old man rummaged around in the back. I would also suggest that you purchase these potions. What are they? Blood replenishing potions. The old man shrugged. You'd be surprised how many I sell. Fine, Harry nodded. Anything else? One more thing. The old man pulled out a worn leather-bound book. This book is filled with useful spells and curses. You might not need it for dealing with supernatural threats, but it will certainly aid you in dealing with normal wizards. Thank you, Harry nodded. Anything else? No. The old man shook his head. Nothing else. Then I'm going to take this back to my room and go through it. Harry hefted his load. It's a good thing my pack is bottomless, but it is, lad. The old man chuckled. That it is. Harry walked back to his room and spent the remainder of the day reading through his new books and cataloguing his new items. Finally getting everything situated the way he wanted it, Harry pulled out his new spell book and started to read. A muffled knock broke Harry's concentration and caused him to look towards the door. What is it? I have an invitation for you, sir. The bartender's voice called through the door. One moment. Harry got up and opened the door. What's this about? An invitation? The Count has asked you to dine with him and has offered you a room for the night. The woman smiled nervously. He wished you to know that he has nothing but respect for you and hopes that you will accept. How do I get there? Harry asked calmly. He has also sent his carriage, the bartender replied, with the instructions that they will wait until doomsday for your answer. Who is this Count? Harry wanted all the facts before he decided what to do. He's the vampire that controls most of the region. The woman's hand started to tremble. But he's not so bad as Vorlos was. I don't think he wants to fight. So why? Because he's being much more polite than he would be if he wanted to fight you. The bartender did not want to be alone with this man for any more time than she had to. Tell the Counts me. Harry paused. Tell them that I would be happy to accept the Count's kind invitation, and that I shall be down in a few minutes. Yes, sir, the woman sagged in relief. I'll tell them. Harry closed the door and spent a few moments ensuring that everything was in its proper place. Shouldering his pack, Harry walked down the steps. Are you the Count's guests? A man in red and black livery asked politely. Yes, Harry nodded. Why didn't you give me the invitation yourself? I didn't want to seem rude, sir. The man kept his tone of respect. Confronting you in your own room could have been seen as aggressive by some. I see, Harry nodded. How long will it take us to get to my meeting with the Count? It shouldn't take too long, sir, the man replied as he opened the inn's door for Harry. A few hours at most, depending on the weather. Thank you, Harry nodded as he stepped into the carriage. One more thing, sir. The guard paused before closing the door. May I have your name? Black. Harry sat back in the plush cushions. My name is Mr. Black. Thank you, sir. If only Hermione could see me now, Harry muttered to himself as he pulled out another book to read on the trip. She'd be thrilled that I'm reading so much. Harry soon lost himself in the book, and in what seemed like no time at all, he felt the carriage pulling to a stop. We are here, sir, the driver called down respectfully. I've taken the liberty of having the staff announce your arrival. Thank you. Harry got out of the carriage and stretched. Where's this meeting? Right this way, sir. Harry followed the man into the main entrance hall where they were greeted by a distinguished-looking man in black and red silk. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Mr. Black. The Count dipped his head in respect. I am the Count. It's a pleasure to meet you as well. Harry saw no reason to be impolite, though I do wonder why you wish to meet with me. Come this way. The Count led him to a small dining room. Normally I would have used the larger dining room, but I'm told that you're not the kind of man that will be insulted if I don't use a table that will seat 100. No, Harry chuckled. I'm not. Have a seat. The Count motioned towards a chair. What would you like to eat? Anything is fine. Harry sat. Thank you for the hospitality, and thank you for allowing me to extend it. The Count smiled. The cook gets so few chances to show off his talent. Then I'm glad to give him the opportunity. Harry smiled. Allow us to get down to business, Mr. Black. The Count took a sip from his wine glass. I would like to start out by thanking you for removing Vlad and Vorlos. There have been problems for quite some time now. It wasn't a problem. Harry took a sip from his own glass. Though I am curious why you're so happy to see them gone. One of my hobbies is making wine. The Count smiled. Including the glass you're drinking right now. Every year the vines will produce grapes. I don't harvest the grapes by cutting the vines because that would spoil next year's crop. We do not need to kill humans to get our blood. The glass I'm drinking came from the cook yesterday and it's just as good as it would be fresh. Vlad and Vorlos did not understand that. They did not understand that the peasants outnumber us by at least 100 to 1 and that we exist only as long as we aren't too much of a burden. I see they were a danger to all of us. The Count smiled. It is no longer the old days when vampires could do as they pleased. It is a new era that demands new methods. Why didn't you take care of them yourself? Harry asked mildly. There is unfortunately one of me and many small problems. The Count shrugged, and taking a personal interest would have been seen as a sign of weakness by those that are unhappy with the new rules. I'm glad I could have been some help in solving your problem. Harry nodded. Would you be willing to help with another problem, Mr. Black? The Count smiled. I would be willing to reward you handsomely. What problem? Harry held up a hand. I'm only agreeing to hear you out. That's all I ask. The Count nodded. I have a werewolf problem. Someone in one of the villages not far from here has been infected and I need them to be found and eliminated. I'm not going to kill someone just because they turn into a wolf during the full moon. Harry's voice was flat. One of my best friends is a werewolf. Good. The Count smiled. Because I don't want you to kill them for being a werewolf. I want you to kill them for the murder of several of their neighbors. What happened? I provide every one of my towns with a jail. The Count shrugged. This serves more as a place to safely have one's change than anything else. Most of the inns are also equipped with safe rooms as well as several of the houses. This wolf has not chosen to use any of them. What's worse is that there have been a few cases where it locked itself in a house with innocent people. No, Mr. Black, I do not have anything against werewolves, but I do take my responsibility to protect my subjects very seriously. Why not give them wolfsbane potion? Harry asked. It may not cure the transformation, but it does make it less dangerous. Wolfsbane. The Count leaned back in his chair. I am unaware of any potion by that name. It doesn't cure them, but it does make the transformation a bit easier, and it keeps them from being affected by the dementia. And you know where I could get this potion? The Count seemed delighted by the prospect. I have a friend that I suspect can brew it. Harry nodded. If she can't, then I have a few more people I can contact. Wonderful. The Count gave a satisfied nod. And something I will be delighted to provide, but not, I fear, something that will help me with my current problem. I'm not sure what I can do. Harry exhaled. But I'm willing to go to this town and look around. Thank you, Mr. Black. The Count sagged in relief. I am eternally grateful for your assistance in this matter. There is a full moon tonight. If we hurry, we can have you in position before the beast starts its hunt. How am I going to get to this village? I'll have a portkey made. The Count nodded. Is there anything you require? Nothing I can think of. Harry shook his head. Thank you for the offer. The Count left the room and returned a few moments later with a small bottle and 2 links of Jane. I would suggest that you coat your weapons with this before you start. The Count handed over the small bottle. It will magically coat them with silver. The chain is the portkey. Just say Wolf and it will activate. Say Count and it will return you to this castle. Good luck, my friend. Thank you. Harry spent a few moments coating his weapons, then took a deep breath. Wolf. Harry appeared in the town square next to a small fountain. Taking a seat on the side of the fountain, he looked around. Not afraid of the Wolf? A man with long matted grey hair and yellowed fingernails rasped out. You should be. Why? Harry turned just in time to watch the man change. Damn. The Wolf lunged for Harry's throat and he just managed to get his arm up and to save his life. Screaming in pain, Harry frantically grabbed for his wand. The Wolf made an odd keening whimper and its grip began to loosen. Harry rolled so that he was on top of his attacker and his hand closed around the handle of his Pugio. Savagely stabbing the beast, Harry did not let up until it regained its human form. Collapsing, Harry mustered the last of his strength. See, Count, Mr. Black. The Count rushed over to help his friend. You're injured. Only thing I could think of doing was shoving my arm in his mouth. Harry coughed, kept his jaw busy so he couldn't bite me anywhere else. Yes, I am afraid that he may have crushed the bones. The Count cradled his friend's head. You've been bitten by a werewolf. Not so bad. I can always have a friend make me wolfsbane. Harry managed a weak grin. You were right, he was a monster. He walked up to me and started to talk and smiled before his change. I won't let you turn into a wolf, Mr. Black. The Count made a small cut on his wrist and let the blood drip down into Harry's mouth. Forgive me for what I am about to do. Harry's body began burning and he arched his back. Darkness began clouding his vision and everything went black. You're awake, a young female voice cried out joyfully. I have to go. Awake, the Count, Murgle, Harry replied. I'm happy to see that you're well, my friend. The Count walked into the room. I seem to recall you giving me some blood. Harry forced his voice to stay level. Am I a vampire? No. The Count took a seat. When I gave you blood, one of 3 things was supposed to happen. 1. You would become werewolf. 2. My power would overcome that of the wolves and you would have become a vampire. And 3. You had a very small chance of remaining human. So I'm human. No. The Count smiled. And you're not a werewolf either. You're something else. Something else. Your senses are a bit higher than a normal human's would be. Your strength and especially your stamina have also gone up. The Count gave a confused shrug. You will not transform. I've already checked and found that you have no adverse reaction to silver or sunlight. To be quite frank, I have no idea how this could have happened. Anything else? Harry's heartbeat returned to normal. You may be fond of having your meat rare if you were not before. The Count shrugged. I don't know. I would suspect that if you ever wish to become an animagus, then your form would be that of a wolf. Or perhaps you would also have the form of a wolf. You, my friend, are something entirely new and unique. Great, Harry muttered sarcastically. Just frigging wonderful. I am sorry. The Count frowned. And if there is any way I can make amends, don't worry about it. Harry waved it off. The past is in the past. Did you learn anything about the wolf? Yes. The Count nodded. His name was Fenrir Greyback, a Death Eater that was also known as the werewolf who kills for fun, and ideally wished that I knew what he was doing here. Probably trying to recruit more Death Eaters, Harry guessed. I can't think of any other reason. Neither can I. The Count shrugged. What time is it? It's nearly noon. The Count replied. Why? Because I had better get to my next destination. Harry sat up. Do you know where I can get a portkey to Bulgaria? I'll make you one myself, the Count offered. Are you sure that you don't need more rest? Positive, Harry nodded. Being sick in bed is no way I want to spend my vacation. The Count handed back a small silver badge. This is your portkey to Bulgaria. It is also a permanent portkey back to my castle and a badge to show your status as this region's premier law enforcement officer. Thank you. Harry accepted the badge. How do I activate it to return? Tap it 3 times with the tip of your wand or say the phrase "I wish to see my friend the Count." And to go to Bulgaria, Harry asked. Before I tell you that, may I ask you to do me one more favor? What? Harry's face became expressionless. Would you be willing to put me in contact with the potion maker that can make Wolfsbane? Of course. Harry nodded, flew the professor and asked for Henschel. Thank you, my friend, the Count smiled. To go, just say the word Vila goodbye. Harry gathered his things. Vila, goodbye, my friend. The Count walked towards the fireplace and threw in a handful of flue. Professor, Yeskel's head appeared in flames. What can I do for you? Are you Henschel? The Count asked politely. Yes, Henschel nodded. What do you need? Can you brew Wolfsbane potion? And if you can, would you be willing to sell me large amounts of it? It's very expensive. Henschel frowned. But I can do it. Money means nothing. The Count waved off her objection. Are you sure you want me doing it? Henschel asked nervously. I am a master, but Baron Black said you were the best in Europe. The Count nodded. So of course you'll charge 10% more than usual. Baron Black. Henschel's eyes widened as she registered the rest of the sentence. 10%, 20%. Then, the Count nodded. You drive a hard bargain. Okay, Henschel nodded. When do you need it and how much do you need? I will need monthly doses for 30 individuals. The Count smiled. I will also need to know where I can deposit Baron Black's revenues. Revenues? Henschel looked puzzled. Yes, the Count nodded. It was the perfect thing to do with Vlad and Volo's lands and possessions. He left before he could tell me where the gold from his lands and business were to be deposited. I'll speak to the professor. Henschel nodded. I think he knows which bank Mr. Black uses. I am eternally in your debt. The Count bowed. Now if you will excuse me, matters of the state demand my attention. And it was pointed out that Harry faced the dragon in the first task and not the third. Let's just say that Spence is an idiot and Harry wasn't paying attention. If you forgot, Harry's clothes can change into different outfits. He just hasn't chosen to use it before now. I've been planning the vamp death in the bar since the beginning of the story. It's good to finally get it written out. It may not have been blind luck, but I think that incapacitating 3 vamps with a cosmetic charm is good enough. The death of the werewolf has been planned for almost as long. I was very tempted to have the wolf kill Harry, just to see the reaction. I could have even made it all a dream and said that it was a Dallas reference. It would have ruined months of planning, but it would have been fun. The reason why the Count was so friendly towards Harry is because he saw Mr. Black as an equal and he was lonely. You've heard the phrase, it's lonely at the top, and yes, I made Mr. Black a baron just so I could title this chapter The Black Baron. Be happy I didn't name him Mr. Red, or you would see this joke more than once.